Oh, hi there. How are you? Are you ready for another read along? Are you ready? We're halfway through chapter 11 tonight, aren't we? Of The Wind in the Willows, written by Kenneth Grahame. I am using the Wordsworth edition and I'm up to page 233. Where are you at, dude? Get your copy of the book and we'll start reading along. If you remember, in Read Along 21, we left Toad puffing and swelling. Here we go. Clever? Oh no, he said. I'm not really clever, according to my friends. I've only broken out of the strongest prison in England. That's all I did. And captured a railway train and escaped on it. That's all. And disguised myself and gone out in the country humbugging everybody. That's all. Oh no, I'm a stupid ass. Yeah, I am. I'll tell you one or two of my little adventures, Mole, and you can judge for yourself. Well, well, said the Mole, moving toward the supper table. Supposing you talk whilst I eat. Not a bite since breakfast. Oh my, oh my. And he sat down and helped himself liberally to cold beef and pickles. Toad straggled on the hearthrug, thrust his paw into his trouser pocket and pulled out a handful of silver. Look at that, he cried, displaying it. That's not so bad for a few minutes' work. And how do you think I did it, Mole? Horse stealing, that's how I did it. Go on, Toad, said the Mole, immensely interested. Toad, do be quiet, said the Rat. And Mole, don't you egg him on. You know what he is. Please, tell us as soon as possible what the position is and what's best to be done now that Toad is back at last. The position's about as bad as it could be, replied the Mole grumpily. And as far as what's to be done, why, blessed if I know. The Badger and I have been round and round the same place, by day and by night. Always the same thing. Sentries. They're posted everywhere. Guns poked out at us, stones thrown at us. Always an animal on the lookout. And when they see us, oh my, how they laugh. That's what annoys us the most. It is a very difficult situation, said the Rat, reflecting deeply. But I think I see now in the depths of my mind what Toad really ought to do. I'll tell you. He ought to... No, he oughtn't, shouted the Mole with his mouth full. Nothing of the sort. You don't understand. What he ought to do is he ought to... Well, I shan't do it anyway, cried the Toad, getting excited. I'm not going to be ordered about by you fellows. It's my house we're talking about, and I know exactly what to do. And I'll tell you, I'm going to... By the time they were all three talking at once, at the top of their voices, and the noise was simply deafening, a thin, dry voice made itself heard by saying, Be quiet, all of you, at once. That instantly meant everyone was silent. It was the Badger who, having finished his pie, had turned around in his chair and was looking at them severely. When he saw that he had secured their attention and that they were evidently waiting for him to address them, he turned back to the table again and reached for the cheese. And so great was the respect commanded by the solid qualities of that admirable animal that not another word was uttered until he had quite finished his repast and brushed the crumbs from his knees. The Toad fidgeted a good deal, but the Rat held him firmly down. When the Badger had quite done and got up from his seat, he stood before the fireplace reflecting deeply. At last he spoke. Toad, he said, severely. You bad, troublesome little animal. Aren't you ashamed of yourself? What do you think your father, my old friend, would have said if he had seen you here tonight and had known all of your goings-on? Toad, who was on the sofa by this time with his legs up, rolled over on his face, shaken by sobs of contrition. There, went on the Badger, more kindly. Never mind. Just stop crying. We're going to let bygones be bygones and try and turn over a new leaf. But what the Mole says is quite true. The Stoats, they're on guard at every point, and they make the best sentinels in the world. It's quite useless to think of attacking the place.
They're way too strong for us.
Well then it's all over, sobbed the toad, crying into the sofa cushions. I shall go and enlist for a soldier and never see my dear Toad Hall again.
Come, cheer up, Toady, said the Badger. There are more ways of getting back a place than taking it by storm. I haven't said my last word yet. Now, I'm going to tell you a great secret.
Toad sat up slowly and dried his eyes. Secrets had an immense attraction for him because he could never keep one, and he enjoyed the sort of unhallowed thrill he experienced when he went and told another animal after having faithfully promised not to.
There is an underground passage, said the Badger impressively. It leads from the riverbank, quite near here, right up into the middle of Toad Hall.
Oh, nonsense, Badger, said the Toad rather airily. You've been listening to some of the yarns they spin in the public houses around here. I know every inch of Toad Hall inside and out. Nothing of the sort, I assure ye.
My young friend, said the Badger with great severity, your father, who was a worthy animal, lot worthier than some others, I know, was a particular friend of mine and told me a great deal he wouldn't have dreamt of telling you. He discovered that passage. He didn't make it, of course. That was done hundreds of years before he ever came to live there. And he repaired it and cleaned it out because he thought it might come in useful some day in case of trouble or danger. And he showed it to me. Don't let my son know about it, he said. He is a good boy, but very volatile in character and simply cannot hold his tongue. If he's ever in a real fix and it would be of use to him, you may tell him about the secret passage, but not before.
The other animals looked hard at Toad to see how he would make it. Toad was inclined to be sulky at first, but he brightened up immediately like the good fellow he was. Well, he said, perhaps I am a bit of a talker, a popular fellow such as I am. My friends get round me, we chaff, we sparkle, we tell witty stories, and somehow my tongue gets wagging. I have the gift of conversation. I've been told I ought to have a salon, whatever that may be. Never mind, go on, Badger. How's this passage of yours going to help us?
I've found out a thing or two lately, continued the Badger. I got Otter to disguise himself as a sweep and call at the back door with brushes over his shoulder asking for a job. There's going to be a big banquet tomorrow night. Somebody's birthday, the Chief Weasel's, I believe, and all of the weasels will be gathered together in the dining hall, eating and drinking and laughing and carrying on, suspecting nothing. No guns, no swords, no sticks, no arms of any sort.
But the sentinels will be posted at the wall, remarked the Rat.
Exactly. This is my point. The weasels will trust entirely to their excellent sentinels. That is where the passage comes in. That very useful tunnel leads right up under the butler's pantry, next to the dining hall.
Ah, that squeaky board in the butler's pantry, said Toad. Now I understand it. We shall creep out quietly into the butler's pantry, cried the Mole. With our pistols and swords and sticks, shouted the Rat.
And rush in upon 'em,
said the Badger. And whack 'em, and whack 'em, and whack 'em, cried the Toad in ecstasy, running around the room and jumping over the chairs.
Very well, then,
said the Badger, resuming his usual dry manner.
Our plan is settled, and there's nothing more for you to argue and squabble about, so, as it's getting very late, all of you go to bed right now. We will make all the necessary arrangements in the course of the morning tomorrow.
Toad, of course, went off dutifully to bed with the rest. He knew better than to refuse, though he was feeling much too excited to sleep. But he had had a long day with many events crowded into it, and sheets and blankets were very friendly and comforting fit things. After plain straw, not too much of it, spread on a stone floor of a draughty cell, and his head had not been many seconds on his pillow before he was snoring happily. Naturally, he dreamt a good deal about roads that ran from him just when he wanted them, about canals that chased him and caught him, and a barge that sailed into the banqueting hall with his week's washing just as he was giving a dinner party. And he was alone in a secret passage, pushing onwards, but it twisted and turned round and shook itself and sat up on its end, yet somehow, at the last, he found himself back in Toad Hall, safe and triumphant, with all of his friends gathered around him, earnestly assuring him that he really was a clever toad. He slept until a late hour the next morning, and by the time he got down he found that the other animals had finished their breakfast some time before. The mole had slipped off somewhere by himself without telling anyone where he was going. The badger sat in the armchair reading the paper and not concerning himself in the slightest about what was going to happen that very evening. The rat, on the other hand, was running around the room busily with his arms full of weapons of every kind, distributing them in 4 little heaps on the floor and saying excitedly under his breath as he ran, "Here's a sword for the rat, here's a sword for the mole, here's a sword for the toad, here's a sword for the badger, here's a pistol for the rat, here's a pistol for the mole, here's a pistol for the toad, here's a pistol for the badger," and so on in a regular rhythmical way, while the 4 little heaps gradually grew and grew.
"That's all very well, Rat,"
said the badger presently, looking at the busy little animal over the edge of his newspaper.
"I'm not blaming you, but just let us once get past these stoats with these detestable guns of theirs, and I assure you we shan't want any swords or pistols. We 4, with our sticks, once we're inside the dining hall, why, we shall clear the floor of the lot of them in 5 minutes. I'd have done the whole thing myself, only I didn't want to deprive you fellows of the fun."
"Well, it's as well to be on the safe side," said the rat reflectively, polishing a pistol barrel on his sleeve and looking along it. The toad, having finished his breakfast, picked up a stout stick and swung it vigorously, belabouring imaginary animals. "I'll learn 'em to steal my house," he cried. "I'll learn 'em! I'll learn 'em!" "Don't say learn them, Toad," said the rat, greatly shocked. "It's not good English."
"Why are you always nagging at Toad for?"
inquired Badger, rather peevishly.
"What's the matter with his English? It was the same when I used you myself, and if it's good enough for me, well, it's good enough for you."
"I'm very sorry," said the rat humbly, "only I think it ought to be teach 'em and not learn 'em."
"But we don't want to teach 'em," replied the banner. "We want to learn 'em, learn 'em, learn 'em, and what's more, we're going to do it too."
"Oh, very well, have it your way," said the rat. He was getting rather muddled about it himself, and presently he retired into a corner where he could be heard muttering, "Learn 'em, teach 'em, learn 'em," till the badger told him off rather sharply to leave off. Presently the mole came tumbling into the room, evidently very pleased with himself. "I've been having such fun," he began at once. "I've been getting a rise out of those stoats." "I hope you've been being careful, Mole," said the rat anxiously. "I should hope so too," said the mole confidently. "I got the idea when I went into the kitchen to see about Toad's breakfast being kept hot for him. I found that old washerwoman dress that he came home in yesterday hanging on a towel horse before the fire, so I put it on, and the bonnet, and the shawl, and off I went to Toad Hall as bold as you can please. The sentries were on the lookout, of course, with their guns and their who comes there and all the rest of their nonsense. 'Good morning, gentlemen,' says I, very respectful. 'Want any washing done?' They looked at me very proud and stiff and haughty and said, 'Go away, washerwoman, we don't want washing on duty.' 'Or any other time?' says I. 'Wasn't I funny, Toad?' 'Poor frivolous animal,' said Toad very loftily. The fact is, he felt exceedingly jealous of Mole for what he had just done. It was exactly what he would have liked to have done himself, if only he had thought of it first and hadn't gone and overslept himself. "Some of the stoats, they turned quite pink," continued the Mole, "and the sergeant in charge, he said to me very short, he said, 'Now run away, my good woman, run away. Don't keep my men idling and talking at their posts.' 'Run away?' says I. 'Won't be me that will be running away in a very short time from now.' 'Oh, Molly, how could you?' said the rat, dismayed. The badger laid down his paper. I could see 'em pricking up their ears and looking at each other. went on the mole, and the sergeant said to him, "Never mind her, she don't know what she's talking about it." "Oh, don't I?" said I. "Well, let me tell you this. My daughter, she washes for Mr. Badger, and that'll show you whether I know what I'm talking about, and you'll know pretty soon too. 100 bloodthirsty badgers, armed with rifles, are going to attack Toad Hall this very night, by way of the paddock. 6 boatloads of rats with pistols and cutlasses will come up the river and effect a landing in the garden, while a picked body of toads, known as the diehards or the death or glory toads, will storm the orchard and carry everything before them, yelling for vengeance. There won't be much left of you lot to wash by the time they're done with you, unless you clear out whilst you have the chance." Then I ran away, and when I was out of sight I hid, and presently I came creeping back along the ditch and took a peep at 'em through the hedge. They were all nervous and flustered as could be, running all ways at once and falling over each other, and everyone giving orders to everyone else and not listening. And the sergeant kept sending off parties of stoats to different parts of the grounds, and then sending excuse me, and then sending other fellows to fetch 'em back again. And I heard 'em saying to each other, "That's just like the weasels there, to stop comfortably in the dining hall and have feasting and toasts and songs and all sorts of fun, whilst we stay out on guard in the cold and the dark, and in the end be cut to pieces by bloodthirsty badgers." "Oh, you silly ass mole," cried Toad. "You've gone and spoiled everything."
"Mole," said the badger, in his dry, quiet way, "I perceive you have more sense in your little finger than some other animals have in the whole of their fat bodies. You've managed excellently. I begin to have great hopes of you. Good mole. Clever mole."
The toad was simply wild with jealousy, especially as he couldn't make it out for the life of him what the mole had done that was so particularly clever. But fortunately for him, before he could show temper or expose himself to Badger's sarcasm, the bell rang for luncheon. It was a simple but sustaining meal: bacon, broad beans and a macaroni pudding, and when they'd quite done, the Badger settled himself into an armchair and said, "Well, we've got our work cut out for us tonight, and it'll probably be pretty late before we're quite through with it, so I'm just going to take 40 winks whilst I can." And he drew a handkerchief over his face and was soon snoring. The anxious and laborious rat at once resumed his preparations and started running between his 4 little heaps, muttering, "Here's a belt for the rat, here's a belt for the mole, here's a belt for the toad, here's a belt for the badger," and so on, with every fresh accoutrement he produced, to which there seemed really no end. The mole drew his arm through Toad's, led him out into the open air, shoved him into a wicker chair, and made him tell him all the adventures from beginning to end, which of course Toad was only too willing to do. The mole was a good listener, and Toad, with no one to check his statements or to criticise in an unfriendly spirit, rather let himself go. Indeed, much that he related belonged more properly to the category of what might have happened had I only thought of it in time instead of 10 minutes afterwards. Those are always the best and raciest adventures, and why should they not be truly ours as much as the somewhat inadequate things that really come off? Hear, hear, Kenneth. Hear, hear. And there you go. That was chapter 11. So tomorrow and Tuesday we'll have chapter 12. I didn't get to make 2 videos today. I've just been busy. Simple as that. All right. But this was episode 22. Chapter 12, the final chapter, the return of Ulysses, is tomorrow. And then on Tuesday will be 24 and the finale. All right. And then on Wednesday, we'll do the Hogfather. We'll see. I can't remember even what my calendar is like this week. Who knows? Who even knows? Hey, last night I discovered that there are a load of comments on Waiting For Me. So I told you the other day, didn't I, when I read down the bottom, there was like now this list of names of people who like and comment the most. And they had little logos, little emblems next to their names. Do you remember that? So the YouTube, I can't remember what it's called, YouTube Studio app has updated itself, and it used to be that you could see just at the click of a button all of the comments that you haven't responded to yet. But they've taken it away. So now I can just see it appears to just be random comments. So I found them all. Like, oh gosh. So I only love-hearted them last night. And then there was some more come up, but some of them had already been love-hearted. Some of them I'd already replied to. So I don't understand anymore how to use it. So what I'm trying to say when we boil it down is if I haven't responded to your comment on there, it's nothing personal. I just can't find the way to see it anymore. You know I'm not very technological. Although my backgrounds for Wind in the Willows have said otherwise. What? Have you been impressed with them? I've really enjoyed doing them. So I'll have to really think though, how am I going to do it for the Hogfather? It might be that I do it like I've done tonight. I didn't change the backgrounds tonight. I've got to go down and make a green pie, yeah. So I just kept like the title screen in the background. But it's better than, hang on, bear with me. The title screen is better than this. Isn't it? So now I've found out how to do it. I'll keep doing this because I really like it. But it might just be the title screen. All right. So yeah, that's how we're going to look. All right. What else can I tell you? So I've had a little brainwave, right? And see if you have any thoughts on this, any opinions or ops, as the kids don't say ops, do they? Ops is like people who are against you, opponents. I don't know what they say for opinions, but anyway, see if you've got any opinions on this. So using YouTube Studio, I'll show you a little bit on here. And let me just switch on to airplane mode because otherwise I'll dox myself if my family texts me. So here's my stuff right here, and then if I look on the analytics, I put it on airplane mode so I can't see the analytics. Hang on. So if I now put it on the analytics, right, and down here, my top content in the last 48 hours, look, is apart from that one Wind in the Willows there, all of this business here is one of the books that I did during lockdown. They're still getting loads of views, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's a Williams book that is really popular in my playlist. I didn't even do it properly. I just used to go and sit in a random place around the house. So I might, not like how I do Wind in the Willows, not like how I'm going to do Hogfather, like one episode a day, but I might just do a clump of one of the Williams books and just stick it on here as a playlist. I'm just trying to get it out there, you know, just trying to get the old channel out there. I can't remember how many subs we've got at the moment. We are currently sitting at 1,569. Lovely number to end it on. But we could push that, couldn't we? If I put another Williams on. What do you reckon? I don't know. Anyway, I'm off to make my green pie, Lady C's favourite. So yeah. Tomorrow, let's think. Tomorrow is Monday for me. Hey, I'll tell you what, I'm at that school tomorrow, not this school where I'm normally out on a Monday. I'm at that one over there. Quite a big day tomorrow. Got like a kind of mini, not inspection, but kind of inspection, mini inspection for my department. So that'll be good fun. So hopefully that'll be all right. Yeah, but I should be here in time. Although that school over there is a bit further to travel, I should still be here in time to do the first part of chapter 12. All right, okay. Thanks very much for listening. I really do appreciate it, you know. All right, I'll see you soon.